Okay, my beautiful friends, here we are, you and me, together again at last on this Thursday, August 5th, 2021. I'm going to start off again with economic news that we got this morning. And it's more of the same. As a matter of fact, it's actually worse, unfortunately, because we're not talking about numbers. We're talking about people. I want you to consider this. So we just found out that first-time unemployment claims for last week came in at 385,000. Okay, pretty bad. Well, the week prior, the numbers were revised higher by 27,000. So again, the week prior, 400,000 people applied for first-time unemployment benefits. Now it's been revised up to 427,000 people. These are weekly numbers. I want you to consider what I am talking about here. It's epic. And again, these are not just numbers. These are human beings. These are people who are under attack. They're under attack. You have to understand. You're under attack. I am under attack by the current system. It is so rigged and so twisted at this particular time against most people. Unless you are in the 1 or the 2 percentile, you're in a lot of trouble here, people. That's the truth. Now let's talk a little further. We heard from Fed President Bullard this morning. Now, we got a little truth out of this guy, which is surprising, being that he is a member of the Federal Reserve, freak show here. He admitted that inflation is not transitory or temporary. He said it's going to persist. As a matter of fact, if you recall the last FOMC meeting, the Fed chair himself said inflation risk remains to the upside, and we should expect to see inflation move higher over the next several months. There's no relief in sight, okay? So, put this all together. Yesterday, we got the Fed Vice Chair, Clarita, explaining that, well, maybe in 2023, we'll get our first rate hike, and maybe by the end of this year, the Fed will stop. They will cut back on asset purchases. Neither one of those things are going to happen. The Federal Reserve will continue. Well, it won't just continue what it's doing. It's going to be increasing them. Again, understand how it's set up. It's a twisted system. When the Federal Reserve is saying, there's a minimum purchase per month with regard to assets with no top, 80 billion per month minimum in treasuries, 40 billion per month minimum with mortgage-backed securities. So there's no top. They can do whatever they want to do. Like I've been explaining for a while, they will be increasing asset purchases, meaning they will be issuing more debt through one door, buying it back through another door, and that process is an inflation creation machine that's running at an incredible speed. Henceforth, why we're seeing inflation right now. It's out of control, but according to the Federal Reserve chairperson himself, it's contained. I hate that word. Actually, he said it was not widespread. Okay, I don't want to put words in his mouth. I don't see a difference here between inflation, in his view, not being widespread, for which it is, okay? So he's lying to all of us. It's a crime, as we all know, in progress. And contained. That word contained brought the world to its knees in 2008, and we have been in an economic collapse since that time. Sure, the illusion of things getting better via vastly expanding and creating more debt out of thin air has inflated a housing bubble, has reinflated a stock market bubble. It's certainly enriched the well-off and rich people at the expense of everybody else. You think this is by accident? Really? You really, really do? I just want to know, seriously, when people are going to say, I've had enough. Action needs to be taken against this crime syndicate known as the Federal Reserve. They are fulfilling their goal, their end game, people, that has been put into effect over a century ago. It's unbelievable. It really is. It's frightening to me. I'm getting chills throughout my body just thinking about the hideousness of this organization, the Federal Reserve, and what they're doing. Anyway, let's talk about other assets. Gold right now is under a tiny bit of pressure. Silver is higher fractionally. Cryptocurrencies were higher last night nicely, but right now they are under pressure. The 10-year yield, 1.18. There's no stability here. Okay, the entire freaking yield curve is flattening out. Again, and you know what this means. It's pointing towards an economic slowdown. I mean, round after round of bad economic news. Forward-pointing indicators, they're all pointing lower, okay? So what does this mean? It means the Fed's going to continue to stimulate. This is all being done by design, really. And I'm just wondering, seriously, yet again, it goes through my head constantly, when one member of Congress is going to call one of these freaks or the Fed chairperson before a committee and say, hey, what's going on here? All right? Nobody's going to do it. You have to understand that. Not one single representative who represent nothing. They represent the corporate agenda, and they represent the Federal Reserve. We, the people, have no representation anymore. Zero. Anyway, it's a horrible thing. It really, really is. Anyway, so in summary, stock futures right now are pointing towards a higher open. Let's look at the setup here. Crude oil getting bid higher. 10-year yield, 1.18. The dollar right now, last time I looked, was about flat. It's not a great setup for the market. However, we got more bad economic news. It might be enough. It might be enough to push stocks higher. I don't know. But what I do know is until that 10-year yield starts to spike in an uncontrolled fashion, we must buy the dips moving forward. If the market drops today, you buy that dip. If it doesn't drop, great. With regard to the debt, people, it's in a hyper bubble like we've never imagined. I don't think anybody out here, including myself, would have, just several years ago, although I've been explaining that this would happen, the Federal Reserve's goal here is to hyperinflate their balance sheet, but this is out of control. This is so vastly out of control, and nobody except you and me want to do a darn thing about it. So we must take action, people. I told you, you must start understanding the situation you're in, why it's happening. This is the Fed fulfilling their end game, to be the lender and buyer of last resort, to own it all, to be the government of the world, the new world order. This is it. It's here. We have no representation anymore. It's over. Anyway, bet against this debt, become your own central bank, hold hard assets, physical silver more specifically. I mean, I can't imagine a better way to take the opposite side of the debt hyper bubble than holding physical silver. Sure, you can do a lot of other things. You can acquire assets other than gold and silver, silver being the most suppressed asset in my view in the history of the world. I think cryptocurrencies are massively suppressed right now. This is my opinion. And as I always say, that space is not for everyone. It's for some. It's for those of us who can deal with the wild swings, who see value here. For some, it's just something they should stay away from. It's very volatile. It's out of control. And you never, people, play with cash that you cannot afford to lose. All right. And with regard to this market, I've kept all of you on the right side of this in the face of people saying we're going to get a crash, it's going to do this, it's going to drop. And now you got to be buying these dips like I've been explaining to you. And yesterday, just real quick, we got this warning from Citigroup about a possible market drop in September. Let me explain this to you while we're on that topic, because I got a lot of questions and comments about that. If in fact this market decides to correct or pull back in September, which is something that should happen, okay, I'm not saying it's going to happen in September, but this market needs a correction. As long as the 10-year yield isn't spiking, we got to buy that dip too. And I will keep all of you on top of this, people, when we get there. You know I will. Look, I got your back in every way I possibly can. I feel a responsibility here to all of you who support my work, who've been with me for years, some of you. And I love all of you. I mean that. Anyway, look, I'm out of here. I'll see all of you at the end of the day. I really hope you do share this video, get it out there. And thank you for letting me know that my website's working. It is working well now. I had all kinds of problems yesterday. I will see you later.